go ahead and call the meeting to order. Bruce, you want to go ahead and do the roll call, please?
Okay, Robert Hannon,
I'm here.
Richard Berlandi,
Here.
David Fox,
Here.
Robert Eisner,
Here.
Neil Kelsey. Neil? Let's see, he was there.
He's here, he's muted.
Yeah, I'm here. It
All
just
right.
wasn't unmuting for me.
No problem. Mark Simpson
Here.
and Ned Statton.
Here.
All right. Oh, Robert Ganto and Emily Brick. All right, Chair, it's all yours. Who's that?
No, not one of the members.
Nope, that's it.
First item on the agenda is BB Development LLC, 368 Plainville Avenue. Somebody on the call representing them?
Jim, do you want to?
Good evening, Jim McManus, Certified Professional Soil Scientist, JM Wetland Consulting Services. I thought Seb was on the line. Is he on the
No,
line?
Seb is there, but I don't know if
Yep.
Jim.
There he is.
Can you hear me now?
There we go. There we go.
We got
Thank
you, Jim.
Thank you, appreciate it. If I could start off, if Mr. Chairman, I
Absolutely.
may. We when we left off last meeting, we had basically discussed the parameters of the project in terms of the site development plan, the location of the building, the location of the detention basin. And as a result of that discussion, and Mr. McManus had testified to the fact that there's a small area of wetlands located on the property that will not be impacted by the development. There was a determination that this is not a significant activity. And effectively what we're dealing with is an upland review application and what effect the development might have on the upland area and its relationship to the inland wetlands in the northeast corner of the property. The question arose at that meeting as to whether or not infiltration into the detention basin would be a cause for concern. I assumed from that question it meant whether there was a cause for concern that the infiltration might cause a migration of any contaminant plume that may exist on the property. Pursuant to that, and with the help of the town of Farmington, we set up a meeting with DEP, with Arcadis, who is basically the licensed environmental professional for Chevron, who's in charge of the site. Our LEP was on board, Seb was on board, and we had a lengthy discussion about the site and the possible effects of infiltration into the sedimentation basin. The question was posed to the Arcadis licensed professional as to whether or not he had an opinion as to whether the infiltration might cause a problem, and he did not think that it would be a problem at all, since the contaminated area and the flow of the subsurface water is not located in the area of the detention basin. Effectively, that was the summation of what his testimony was as far as the detention basin is concerned. There was a question posed to him by the town as to whether or not he felt or he had an opinion as to whether any type of vapor barrier should be placed in the bottom of the pond. And he indicated that that was not necessary, given the location of the pond and given the fact that there was no contaminants in the area underneath the pond and between the pond and the wetlands area. The second thing that he talked about, which was very important, and we didn't know this was going to be happening, was that he had indicated that if this project is approved and the building is taken down and the area of the old pumps is excavated, that they plan on doing some additional excavation in that area to eliminate some of the contaminated soil that might exist either under the building or under where the dispensers might have been located. So that was a plus, and they indicated that Arcadis would be responsible for that. He further went on to state that pursuant to that investigation, that he would prepare, Arcadis would prepare a couple of different reports that would be helpful in trying to resolve this situation. And basically, he had indicated that they would prepare a soil contamination report and a remedial action plan for the removal of any contaminated materials. The removal plan would be filed with the DEP, with the health department, and has to be published in the newspaper, and a public hearing has to be held on that prior to the excavation and removal. The soil contamination plan or the soil management plan would be in place so that when they are digging, if any other soils are determined to be contaminated, that a plan is in place to address that concern with DEP and also to enhance the removal of that material from the site. The third element of the meeting, and this was a discussion that Bruce and I had after the meeting, was that in the event that we are approved and we install our storage tanks on the south side of the proposed building, which is basically in the area of Burlington Road, that we would also have a soil management plan in effect, so that when we're digging the graves for these tanks to go into, that if we determine through our LEP, who would be on site, that there is an issue with contamination, that the proper protocols are going to be followed. So all in all, it was a very successful meeting. I think everybody walked away from it being relatively assured that this development project is not going to create any issues in terms of the present contamination on the site. Having said that, I wanted Sev to address the issue of the construction of the basin one more time, the stormwater management plan for that basin, and the calculations related there too. So if Sev, if you can kind of go through that one more time, we'd appreciate it.
Deb, if you don't mind, this is Bob Hand. I just want to make one comment. Robert Canto's on.
Yep.
So Bruce, for the record, I just wanted to make sure that that's on the record. Thank you. Okay, Seb, go ahead.
You're muted, Seth.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we got you.
Thank you. My name is Seb Bovino, planner with Kratzer Johnson Associates. The property topography pitches from east to west, northwest direction. There is an existing 36-inch pipe that takes runoff from Route 177, the state road, to the northwest corner of this property, the way it has been discussed before. This is the area where we have some wetlands on our property. Our stormwater system is designed to maintain the current drainage patterns. About 30 feet of the property on the south edge of our property along Burlington Road drains into Burlington Road. The rest of the property is draining west and northwest. Therefore, our proposed system takes the roof water from the building to the southwest corner of the detention area. The canopy drainage is directed to the southeast corner of the detention area. The pavement is pitched north via sheet runoff to the south edge of the detention area, where a trench drain brings the flow to a storm scepter. From the storm scepter, the runoff is discharged into a sediment forebay with a stone berm. The runoff goes through the stone berm to the bottom of the detention area, which is about 1 foot deep at elevation 316.6. The spillway elevation is 317.5. The top of the berm is 318.7. So as you can see, it's a very shallow system. The runoff moves along the bottom of the detention area, which is covered with grass, wetlands mix type of grass, to a control structure which is the invert of that structure is 314. From there, it drains to a flared end with a riprap energy dissipator and eventually to the existing discharge point over a grass area for about 45 feet from the end of the riprap area. We propose to install intermediate
Oh,
riprap
there was a
at
memo
the
that
end.
went out this morning. We're putting new cover sheets on all the TPS.
Who's that?
reports.
Not sure where that came from.
No, it's all set. Go ahead, Seth.
Yeah, from this flared end right here, we have an energy dissipator riprap area. From here to the edge of the wetlands is about 45 feet, and this is a grassed area. That's where the runoff eventually will end up. And at the end of the existing 36-inch pipe here, we are proposing riprap intermediate as recommended by the commissions the last meeting when the commission saw the condition of the pipe of the area at the end of that pipe. At the meeting with DEP and Arcadis, it was confirmed that this does not create a problem, as the attorney Ziogas indicated, not create a problem because the pollutants are south and southwest of this area, and the groundwater is most likely about 11 feet deep. The detention area is designed to hold storm events from the 2-year all the way up and including the 100-year storm. All the notes and details are on the plan in terms of erosion controls, notes regarding meetings to take place prior to any work being done on this property, and so forth. So at this point, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Before I ask commission members, Ms. McManus, did you have anything that you wanted to add today too?
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. No, I think Sev kind of took the floor tonight, unless you have any particular questions you'd like to ask.
No, I just figured you started talking earlier, so I just asked you.
No, I don't see everybody on my screen, so I was hoping somebody was there for the applicant. So I got anxious. Sorry.
All right, so Ned, I'll start with you tonight. Any questions, comments, concerns?
I wasn't sure how to, so most of this water is going to drain, the pavement is going to drain towards, we'll call it the north end of the lot, and you have this, a trench drain. Now, does the water go in that and then just go into the ground there, or does that connect up to the other system somehow?
It
Yeah, go ahead.
connects to the storm scepter.
Right, but then it looks like it's connected up to a pipe, so I wasn't sure which way this thing is draining.
It's draining from the west to the east via pipe, via trench first, then
All
via
right.
pipe to the storm scepter, and then out via pipe to the forebay in this area.
So it's set up that it drains through the trench itself, and what can't drain through the trench goes into that pipe and then into the collector.
Yeah, into this forebay, then through the storm, through the forebay stone berm, out to the control structure, which is here on the west side of the detention area, and then out to the energy dissipator to the west.
Okay.
Ned, it's not a trench drain like a stone trench drain. It's like a floor drain. So it's like a floor drain because of the shallow grade, they can't get a catch basin and a pipe. So it's a trench drain, floor drain system.
Okay.
So there's no real infiltration. It just runs through the drain
Okay.
to the hydrodynamic separator and then back out into the detention basin.
Okay. As opposed to trying to grade everything to a couple catch basins, it just takes the whole length of that drain as it goes across.
Exactly.
Okay.
There was, I think originally we were talking perforated pipe, but we were still a little concerns with any kind of runoff from the parking lot area due to a fuel spill. It'll go into there, and then the hydrodynamic separator.
Okay. And then the other thing, I was just kind of curious. I noticed in the package of information in the plans that showed a electric vehicle charging station. Is there a plan to put electric vehicle charging station in this?
Yes.
Okay, good.
These 4 spaces are dedicated to the EV stations. And we're going to move these 2 of these spaces southerly because Bruce recommended that we place the dumpster in this area. So we're going to move the dumpster from here, which is closer to the neighbor's property. We're going to move it at this location here.
Okay. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Ned. Mark?
No questions.
Okay, Neil?
Nothing from me, thanks.
Okay, Robert?
No questions, no comments.
Dave?
I have no questions. My concerns about contamination were nicely answered. And thank you for including the new riprap.
Bobby?
No comments.
Rich?
No comments, questions.
I do have one. I think, James, you had mentioned, but I just want to get a clearer understanding of the soil management plan. Is that something that is being proposed? Has it been submitted? Because in looking through the documentation, I didn't see any detailed plans on that. And the concern that I have is because it looks as though there's going to be a bunch of grading and some excavation work here besides what Arcadis was talking about. And I'm just curious as to how soils being excavated or moved around from the site are going to be either stored and or tested, or is all of that material coming off site? So I'm just curious as to exactly how that's going to work out, because I would feel much more comfortable having that formal document in for town staff to have, so they have a better understanding of what's going on, and we can look at it and also know what's being proposed for the soil management. on the
Sure.
site.
Let
Can
me
you
try to,
elaborate a little bit.
let me try to answer that for you. The Arcadis has just completed their yearly testing on the entire site. And usually by the end of January, the beginning of February, they are going to file their annual report with DEEP. That is pending right now. They haven't filed it yet. We hope it happens in the next week to 10 days. In addition to that, they will be preparing the remediation plan, which has to go to a public hearing. And I know that Shannon had requested that a copy of that plan be sent to the town, which of course it will be, and a public hearing can be held on that remediation plan. The soil plan is something that they're going to be filing, preparing, and giving us a copy of. And we're also going to do a soil plan with our LEP as well, as it relates to the installation of the tanks on the south side of the building. So I think that all of these items can be conditions of approval prior to the actual permit being issued. And we certainly can live with that. We can't control the timing of Arcadis. They actually work for Chevron. They don't work for us. But they have been very cooperative and they've been very diligent in their efforts. So we're confident that that will happen in the short term, and we can control our LEP a little bit better than that. So we will have that to the commission or to the town as soon as it's ready. We asked for it today. This all came up. Actually, what was the meeting, Bruce? Was it Wednesday?
It was,
Monday?
Yep.
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah, all of this came up on Monday, and we weren't aware of it. We weren't aware that they were going to go back in and excavate. We were happy to hear it. I'm sure the town is too. So this is all something new, and we're gonna be putting it together as conditions of approval.
Okay, no, I mean, that helps because again, you know, if you take contaminated soil out of the ground and put it on the site somewhere, you run the risk of expanding the area that's contaminated. I'm just trying to make sure
Mhm.
that everybody knows what needs to be done on the site and how the soils are gonna be managed. And including whether or not there's gonna be any testing. I don't know if materials coming off would be sent to a designated area to be tested. Or, I mean, Robert, you may have a better understanding on that than me, because I don't even know if DEEP still has the soil stockpiling general permit in place. I don't know if you want to respond to that one, Robert.
Yeah, I was trying to unmute.
Okay.
The soil staging general permit was being reissued, but the characterization of the contaminated soil should occur before it gets moved off-site.
Okay. So again, I'm just trying to make sure that we have something in writing that's going to identify how the site is actually going to be addressed. Because the last thing I want to see is materials pulled out from one location, moved to another, and it just changes the location of potential contamination. So
Yeah,
that was the biggest concern that I had.
yeah, we don't want that to happen either. Obviously, we've got
Oh,
areas.
understood.
Yep. And that's what these plans are going in place for. So there are protocols to address those questions and the way this soil is handled.
Okay, no, thank you for that. I mean, like I said, that was the one question that I had in terms of how the soils were going to be addressed on site. I don't know what folks' pleasure is on this. Most
Chair, just one thing quick. I had updated I had issued some comments for the plan review comment. I'm not sure if all the commissioners had a chance to look at those. Those were issued Monday afternoon after the meeting with DEP. I wanted to wait for that to see what if anything important had to be added to that. So those have been uploaded, or they've been issued to the applicant and have been uploaded to the SharePoint file as well.
And we are in possession of those.
So it sounded like most folks didn't really have any major concerns with what's being proposed. And I'll also say that I don't have a major concern of what's being proposed. I just want to make sure that everybody is clear as to how the soils on the site are going to be addressed, because it is a contaminated site. So I got a fairly good answer on that. So I feel pretty comfortable with making sure that we have the written documentation in to follow that protocol. So that makes me feel a little more comfortable with what's being proposed. But I'll just sort of run through the list in terms of whether or not you feel like you're ready to vote on this or not tonight. Ned? Ned, you're muted. I still see the mic red. There we go.
There you go. I'm all set with it. I don't have any more questions, and
Okay. All right. Then Mark?
I'm good to vote.
Okay. Thank you. Neil?
Yeah, same. I'm fine voting.
Okay. Robert?
I'm ready to vote, and I think we can defer to Deep's remediation division on the soil cleanup.
Okay. Dave?
I'm ready to.
Okay. Rich, Bobby, I'm not asking you, I'll go back to you, but you're not going to be voting tonight because we have a full boatload of commission members tonight. So Rich?
Yeah, I'm comfortable voting tonight.
Okay. And Bobby, you have any other questions or comments?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. So we have an application before us for property at 368 Plainville Avenue. Would somebody care to make a motion? At least I'm assuming it's to approve the application. And with any conditions that you feel are appropriate. I guess Robert had mentioned relying on DEEP for the remediation plan. I don't have a problem with that, but I would like to at least have a condition on there that we have the soil management plan from the applicant, at least, on file fairly soon. I know we can't control Arcadis.
Right.
I think that's probably about the best we're gonna do, and I'm not sure that we can actually condition it on Arcadis coming in. But because there is a process that has to go through for the remediation plan and having to go to a public hearing, that's gonna be overall part of the process, so. Would somebody care to make a motion to that effect and any other conditions or comments that Bruce had mentioned on the plans?
This is Ned. I'll make a motion to approve with the condition that were stated about the public hearing and DEP handling the soil contamination issues.
And the soil management plan from the
And,
applicant?
and, yeah, and the soil management plan being provided from the applicant.
Okay. Is there a second?
Dave will second.
Okay.
Could we add in the installation of riprap at the existing stormwater outfall? Because I don't think it's on the plans.
I
No,
don't
it's
have,
not.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, so that's an added condition. So have a motion on the floor to approve the application with conditions. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining. Good luck,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
and looking forward to having a clean site out there.
Yes, we are too. Thank you.
Good night, all.
Welcome. Hmm. So the next item on the agenda is Bulwark LLC lots 8120, 8122 Colt Highway.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Robin Pearson here on behalf of the applicant, Bulwark LLC, requesting a permit to conduct regulated activities at the site. Excuse me. As this commission probably well recalls, on October 19th of last year, you denied an application for the same property, which had requested a wetland crossing, which would have had a direct impact on the wetlands to allow access to the site in such a manner that both sides of the site could be developed for a self-storage facility. On the eastern side of the site, the larger of the four buildings that were proposed was requested. It was about 59,000 square feet. And on the western side of the site, necessitating, in our mind, the connecting driveway crossing to be able to reach that without having to have a second driveway access on Route 6, 3 additional storage buildings were proposed. The commission felt that the applicant had not analyzed prudent and feasible alternatives to a degree that could leave you comfortable with giving a favorable review of the application. You therefore denied it and asked us to take a look at some possible alternatives. As you indicated in your denial letter, you asked us to look at 5 that would cause less or no environmental impact to the wetlands. And you specifically said that we should investigate them in such a manner that either one, more than one, or all of them might be followed in order to come up with a plan that would make you more comfortable and allow for a positive decision on the application. The types of alternatives that you asked us to explore were very specific. They were first, eliminate the 3-story buildings. I'm sorry, the 3 one-story buildings, which are on the western side, and the improvements that were associated with them on the west side of the property, which would in effect eliminate the need to have the wetland crossing, which was, of course, the direct disturbance that was part of the application. And we have done that. So the application that's before you has no development proposed for the western side of the property. It is all on the eastern side, and that roadway crossing has been eliminated. You asked us to look at the possibility of increasing the 3-story building to a 4-story building. And of course, in turn, eliminating those 3 1-story buildings on the western side. We did that. The one building that remains is now a taller building than was originally approved. You asked us to consider replacing the culvert with a bridge structure to eliminate any disturbance of the associated wetlands. That alternative is no longer relevant given the changes that we have made to the plan, as there is no longer a need for a roadway crossing at that location. You asked us to increase the separation distance, or consider doing this, between the wetlands and the proposed clearing limits and retaining wall. They've been slightly increased on the easterly side, but that's not a significant change as part of this application. But that and the next consideration, which you asked us to provide for larger, more diverse wetland mitigation areas as one of the things we might do to secure a positive referral from you. And both item 4 and item 5 are really no longer relevant given the significant change we have made in totally redoing the plan to eliminate all the development on the western side and concentrating it on the eastern side in the single building that is now a little bit taller, but certainly in terms of its footprint and the impacts on wetlands, there has been a major reduction. With me this evening is Dave Ziyax, who has designed the new layout for you, and also Anthony Zemba with Land Tech, who is our certified ecologist and soil scientist. He's also provided you with an updated, basically, impact assessment for your consideration. And I think at this point, what I'd like to do, because we are proposing the potential for a temporary disturbance, but I'm not going to get into the details of that. I'd like to turn it all over to both of those gentlemen to go through the specifics of the application. And I think it's very clear that we heard what you had to say, and we worked very hard, and it took a while to be able to make it work, but we've come back with a plan that satisfies your concerns. So with that, David?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I'm Dave Ziyax. I'm a professional engineer with F.A. Hesketh Associates. We're over in East Granby. And just following up a little bit with what Robin was explaining to you folks this evening. I think as just a 1-minute overview, the green line on this colored rendering is the wetlands limit that we've all had a chance to review and see in the field. It's about 1.02 acres of the overall 4.99 acres of the total site. It discharges, if we recall, it has a sort of a high point in the middle of the site where it tends to drain to the north in the northerly section, and then parts of it in the south end drain towards the 36-inch drainage culvert that goes under Cole Highway, which is a DOT drainage culvert. Most of the property falls within the 150-foot upland review area, so 3.51 acres of the 4.99 acres is within the regulated upland review area. As Robin pointed out, we spent a great deal of time since we last met with you folks on the idea of converting the building that was previously proposed as 3 stories to possibly to 4 stories. That has lots of challenges as far as building codes and zoning codes and things of that nature. And that's what we spent, sort of like the last 90 days reviewing. The applicant has exhausted that and feels comfortable that they can build a 4-story building within the footprint that we previously proposed and still have an economically viable project. So that's what we're proposing this evening is 1 4-story building, the elimination of the culvert crossing and all of the work, as Robin pointed out, on the west side. The driveway access would be essentially the same that we proposed before. We'd have a 2-way access point and sort of in the center of the site, and then a 1-way circulation around the building. And the reason for the driveway way over on the east side is basically for fire apparatus and larger vehicles to leave the site in a safe fashion. The loading would be again in the rear, and that's sort of that nook corner of the building. And there's only 4 parking spaces proposed. Again, the same situation where we need 1 space for employees and then occasional visitors that need to stop at the office. Most of the loading will take place in that back corner where the elevators will be located in the loading docks. So folks can show up with their vehicles and enter the building at that location. At that point, it's all internal inside the building, and the building is heated and air conditioned. So it's a sealed building. There's really no change to the grading or the drainage design on the east side, other than the amount of grading change that was needed when we eliminated the driveway crossing across the wetlands. Obviously, we had to shut that off and then do a little grading over in that location there. As Robin pointed out, we are leaving on the plan the temporary crossing of the wetland for the purposes of installing a 2-inch force main that would go over to our little leaching field in the same location we had it proposed before. I'm leaving that in the plan only with the caveat that it's really our intent to find a location over on the east side to relocate that to and not have to cross the wetland at all. But at this point, I'm not really in a position to be able to say that because, as you know, we're going to be doing a lot of earthwork on that side. And then we have to have a system that conforms to the health code at that point. I have a couple of locations where I think there's a good possibility we could put this is going to be a tiny system on the east side and avoid the west side. But I thought it would be wise to leave that into the application and then we can condition it appropriately so that we don't have to come back and visit this again with you folks. You understand the absolute maximum impact that would occur if for some reason we are not successful in finding a small area for a leaching field on the east side and we still have to go to the west side. But, we're very comfortable with imposing a condition that say, we have to exhaust the east side and demonstrate to staff that we can't accomplish that. And therefore we would have to go to the west side. And I've got various notes on the plans already, but I would expect the commission would probably make that a special condition of approval if you so approve the project. The planting plan for the east side is the same. We have our mitigation plantings around the edge of the walls. And I still left that little mitigation area over on the right-hand side, or left-hand side, I'm sorry, of our main driveway, where we have that little discharge point. That area there is presently kind of silted in, and the DOT has done a good job in kind of messing that thing up between snow plowing and everything. We're gonna, like we talked about before, we'll clean that area and replant it and make it, if you want to call it, a little wetland mitigation area. But it'll clean up that whole area right there on the east side of the 36-inch culvert. So we left that in the plans. Towards the end there, we had a couple of meetings where we started, we added in some additional amenities such as the extra plantings and things like that. We have not revised that since the last time we met. So really, in summing it up, we've listened to what you had to say. It took a long time to convince ourselves that we could do it. And we've come up with a project that is economically viable for the applicant, concentrating on the east side, the west side. We will be designating pretty much the same limits of a conservation easement incorporated in the plan that will, obviously prevent any further encroachment towards the wetlands, and also ties in nicely with the town of Farmington's open space, which is all to the north that we explored last time. I thought maybe we have Anthony say a few words, our soil scientist and wetlands expert. He provided I think it's a 2-page updated letter to you folks that's now on the record of his observations with the changes to the plans. Anthony?
Sure. Thank you, David. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. I'm Anthony Zumba, soil scientist and certified ecologist with Land Tech. Offices at 518 Riverside Avenue in Westport, Connecticut. Sorry for the mask and low voice. I'm battling COVID again, and so I'll just keep it brief myself, because I think between Attorney Pearson and David Zayaks, I think they covered all the major points that you all as a commission were concerned about originally. The amount of forest clearing on the site under the original proposal, the wetland crossing and culvert in that central wetland, which is now no longer a permanent impact, but been reduced to potentially a temporary impact to install that 2-inch PVC line, which may not even be needed, as David explained. And then overall, just less impermeable surface area on the whole entire site. And as David said, once again, we retained the wetland mitigation area. So I think we've come a long way from the original proposal, and we've addressed all your major concerns for potential adverse environmental impact of the site. But with that said, if you still have any remaining questions that I could answer, I'll be happy to take those questions now.
Chair, we did receive this letter today. It is, and I did upload that to the SharePoint drive, so the commission members will have that as well.
Okay, thank you. Robin, did you have anything else that you wanted to add or sum up, or you fine?
The only thing I would like to say is that we don't think under the circumstances that really there's a need to hold another public hearing on this. You've already done a site walk. There was very little public concern about this. There was no public concern about the particular proposal. And I think, Anthony, your letter is, your update is very thorough. It was your opinion previously, and I gather it's fair to say that your opinion is even strengthened more by the current changes, that this will not have a negative impact on the wetland resources as currently designed.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
And
you.
that's it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Obviously you can't decide it tonight because you're receiving it, but I guess we just would request that we proceed to the next meeting without the need for having a public hearing.
Okay, well, we will discuss it tonight so everybody will have a good idea. So Rich, I'll start with you. Any comments, questions, concerns? And what's your feeling about significant or non-significant activity?
Well, I feel it's a lot less impact than before, with the wetland crossing being eliminated. I'm happy to see that. There was a small, like 675 square feet direct wetland impact. Is that the temporary impact that we're talking about with the crossing for the septic system? That was a question I had in my mind.
I think that was from my agenda review. Yeah, I had just mentioned, I just kind of like blocked out a little area around that pipe. So,
Okay, that's the only really question I had, and I don't think it's a significant impact project.
Okay, thanks.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Bobby, any comments?
No, I think they did a good job coming back with an alternative to what we denied the last time.
Okay, and significant, non-significant?
I would say non-significant.
Okay, thank you. Dave?
Yeah, I agree. It's a major improvement from what we previously saw. Still a little bit somewhat concerned about the closeness to the wetlands. It seems to be pretty much the same, and in fact, it's a couple inches closer, 0.6 feet or something, on the western end of the building. And all the rest of them are the same. I compared the two plans, but yeah, I would have to say it's probably not a significant impact activity.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Robert?
First, Attorney Pearson and your team, thanks for considering all of the points based on the decisions, the commission's last decision. And Anthony Zumba, appreciate you attending the meeting. Clearly, you're not feeling as well as you would like, so we appreciate your attending for our benefit. In terms of processing the application, I think clearly we need to accept it tonight, but I don't know that I want to render a decision on significant or non-significant. I think I'd want to have staff have a little more opportunity to review the application. Like Commissioner Fox identified, the crossing of the wetland for the septic line is a potentially significant activity, but I'd rather hold on that decision. And then, Mr. Chairman, you may be able to clarify, or maybe Bruce, you could clarify. I think for processing this application, we have to handle it as an entirely new application. We can't use our reviews, site walk, and information from the prior application because that application was filed, the decision was rendered. This is a new application. So I think we have to just, take everything as a new matter and not roll over information from the prior application. And Bruce, if that's incorrect,
Nope.
you can update us today or at any point in the future.
no, that is correct. They copied, the plans are new. We copied over, or not copied, but all of the wetlands, previous wetlands submittals are being resubmitted as part of this application. As you saw on the screen here, Anthony Zimba updated with a current letter that kind of more or less stated that he has reviewed this current plan and feels the same. So
Okay. Thanks,
right.
Bruce. I just want to make sure that, we as a commission, we take this on as a new application and don't blur that line and drawing from things that we may have heard or seen or reviewed previously.
Exactly.
End of
Thank
my
you.
comments.
Yep.
And Mr. Chairman, I see Attorney Pearson has her hand up.
Okay,
I do. I would just like to clarify one thing. It clearly, this is a totally new application and has to be treated as such, but there is information that can come over from the prior hearing if it's included in the record. And you raise an interesting point, Commissioner Eisner, about information that you would have gleaned from your site walks. In fact, I think we should include in this application and make sure it's considered part of the application, the materials from the past hearing, from the past application, and that would include your denial letter, which we have just referenced. It would include the land tech document that was previously prepared, which has been updated by this February 1st document, but does not proposed to displace that, if you will. It's building upon what Mr. Zemba provided previously. I would ask that the final set of plans that you based your denial on be also made part of the record. Now, it's an interesting question about what you can bring to the table based on your site walk. And I would suggest that's valid to be able to mention with regard to this new proceeding. I don't see any reason why you're precluded from doing that or have to have another site walk in order to make any observations that you've already observed as a result of the prior site walk. So just to make that clear, I would ask that the minutes, if there are any of that, I assume there are, of the prior site walk be included here. But your personal observations, I mean, whether you did a site walk or not, you could still bring those to the table as part of your consideration of this application. You just have to explain the derivation of those observations, when you were out there, what you saw. So we certainly have no objection to that being incorporated into this proceeding.
Robert, response?
I think that Attorney Pearson, you can work with the town staff, and Bruce, you can guide us on the procedure. While I was doing, I wasn't being confrontational, Attorney Pearson. I was just wanting to
Oh,
make
I
sure that-
understand that. You raised some good, you raised some good points. And it just occurred to me that we don't have, the original land tech document in the record, and it should be. So you're absolutely right.
I just want to make sure that we have a clear, clean record to work from. End of my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. Neil?
I don't have any additional comments or questions on the plan itself. I appreciate the effort that went into the changes that were made since the earlier denial. I guess my one question is regarding whether we can accept the application tonight. Do we need to wait, given the recent discussion, to give the applicant time to add additional information to the application? But that's the only question I have.
No.
Again, staff can give us some guidance.
Yeah,
on
no, we don't have to wait on that. I mean, the application's still open, so they can bring the information in, they can work with Bruce and have the information submitted.
Okay.
But technically, because of when the application was submitted, we do need to acknowledge the application and accept the application. Although we cannot act on it tonight, but we do need to accept it. So, but there's still time for the applicant to work with the town to figure out what maybe additional information going back to the previous application they would like submitted as part of that to build the record. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying.
Okay. Mark?
I agree. This plan is a much better plan. Obviously, it doesn't affect the wetlands in a significant way. The only question, somebody can maybe remind me, I know there was going to be, I believe there was going to be blasting, or there was definitely be significant removal of material from this site. Was that mostly on the western side, or was it mostly on the eastern side? And the other question is, if it is going to happen, is that material removed from the site, does not stored there, and obviously it could cause some, I don't know, maybe I'm fearful of contamination, spreading out from where they store it. That's all.
Mr. Chairman, would you like us to respond to that?
Yeah, I was going to ask Dave to respond to it.
Oh, yes. I was just waiting, Mr. Chairman. Sorry. Yeah, actually, there was more excavation over on the west side than there is on the east side. East side, right where the word building is, and my little colored rendering here is the highest knob there that needs to be knocked down to start the construction of the building. But these walls, I think you're going to find a lot of this material is going to stay on the site and be used for fill around under the driveway behind the wall system in the back over here. But any surplus is going to have to be removed literally on a daily basis off the site, because we're not going to have any real places to stockpile it, nor do we want to, for any length of time. So it's going to be a daily process of sorting through the materials, keeping the good gravelly, kind of well graded stone on the site, and then everything else gets hauled off the site. We don't really have any other purpose for it, as part of the construction goes. Back when we had both sides, we were going to kind of like balance on both sides back and forth, but here we're really working on a relatively small footprint here, and there's not going to be any real place to stockpile any unnecessary materials.
I appreciate your answer. I thought it was the western side where the more of the
Yeah.
removal of material was going to be. So thank you for refreshing my memory, which
Sure.
not always, as my wife tells me, is that valid or that very retention. My retention might not be that good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No problem.
All right, thanks, Mark. Ned?
Yeah, I think before we voted on this, I would want to know the outcome of whether or not the 2-inch, the force main and the septic system can be relocated. I would want to know, the final decision as to where it's going before I voted on this. And the other thing, this whole project is built right up to the edges of the wetlands, and that's one thing that always bothered me. But I noticed that the limits of the conservation easement on the west side weren't changed at all. So to me, that says, okay, so they're going to build this and then come back in a few years and try again to build up on the other side. So since our intent was not to have anything built on the other side, I think we should ask for a conservation easement on the entire west side and put that to bed, so we don't have to worry about them coming back and trying to build on the west side again. I think that would be prudent and the best way to safeguard, the property in the town of Farmington open space on the other side. I just think we can not have to worry about it in the future and know that the conservation easement is providing protection for that land. That's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Ned. I don't really have too much. I know you mentioned that you're still going to continue to do some of the remediation work. For the sanitary sewer line, if I understood you correctly, it's going to take a while before you can figure out whether or not you can do something on the eastern side of the property. Is that correct? I mean,
That's correct, Mr.
You'd have an answer in 2 weeks.
No, the point is that we really won't know that until we've got the site down to sort of the pad elevation, and then what soils are left and would be acceptable to the Department of Health for us to put a leaching field in that location. So that's why I've left the leaching field going over to the west side as a potential necessity, if we're unsuccessful on the east side, rather than me showing something on the east side that I'm not 100% sure I can accomplish and then have to come back to the commission again. I felt that this was the right way to approach it, but with the condition that, we're not going to make any attempt to work temporarily across the wetlands to put that force main in until we've exhausted all the options on the east side, working with the health department and with staff. And if we manage to get it in on the east side, then there will not be any work at all related to that force main across the wetland. It will not be necessary. But this is kind of a unique situation in that because of the reshaping of the site on the east side to create the pad site, I can't say with 100% certainty that I'm going to be able to find a small spot to meet all of the code requirements for a leaching field. As you know, there's extensive list of separating distances and the like to pull that off. You know, we're going to give it the old college try to do that, to put it over there. Obviously, just from an expense point of view, who wants to deal with crossing the wetland and then building a force main and all that stuff? So from an expense point of view, it definitely, you know, forces us to exhaust the east side to the absolute, you know, maximum that we can. And I haven't thrown the towel in it. I think I got a couple ideas where we might be able to put it, but I won't know until after that initial amount of construction takes place. And then we'll see what, you know, what soils, you know, true soil conditions are left. And then we would put the system in that location.
Okay, thank you. And then if I remember correctly, when we talked, when the first application came through, is that the intent was, at least for the force main pipe, that would actually fit inside another pipe, correct?
Yes, we would put it in a probably a 6-inch sleeve.
Okay.
And then pull the pipe through. And again, I see that work being a day or two in there. I just can't imagine it's going to take any longer than that to trench across there. Typically what we do is we just set aside the surface materials just off to the side, put the pipe in the ground, and then put those same soils right back in the exact same location. And even do like a little bit of landscaping where we, you know, rake back the adjoining materials on either side, leaf cover, whatever happens to be there. And so that literally the idea is to make it look like we never went across the wetland. And that's done pretty successfully all the time with utility trenching and the like. But again, I want to emphasize to the commission that my hope is that we will not have to do this work, and we certainly won't do this work until we've exhausted the east side options.
Okay, and then the only other comment I have is I kind of agree with Commissioner Snatton in that that western part, kind of looking at that as a conservation area. Now, one of the things that I will say, and Bruce, I'm going to ask you on this because I know that with other conservation easements, property owners have been able to do certain things as long as it's specifically spelled out within the agreement. So for example, if that area was all put under a conservation easement, but yet the septic system had to go force main and over onto that western part of the property, is that something that can be incorporated into a conservation easement to allow them to go in and do the work that they need to do to maintain and or repair?
You were inside my head. I was thinking the same thing. We have made revisions to our easements to allow continued maintenance of some kind of a utility line through there. So if the applicant was willing, we could take this easement all the way out to the road here, or to the southerly property line with a small little caveat in the easement stating that with the perpetual right to maintain the septic system as approved in the approved plans.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that if this goes forward and they do have to cross the wetlands for the sanitary sewer line, I just want to make sure that they would have the ability to maintain the sanitary sewer system.
Okay.
Okay. Those are the only questions that I had. I will also say I do appreciate the work and the time that you put into this to try to consolidate everything under the eastern side of the property. So with that, start first things first. Can I get a motion to accept the application?
So moved, Mark.
Is there a second?
Second by Asner.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor to accept the application. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining. Okay, the second question was whether or not this would be a significant or non-significant activity. In listening to what Commissioner Eisner had said, I think I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, the rationale for that is to allow the applicant to work with planning staff to kind of bulk up the application to, identify some of the initial issues that originally came forward so that that's all part of the record. So I think that with town staff and Attorney Pearson, I think you guys can maybe work that out so that, based on what you were saying, Attorney Pearson, you think the information can be incorporated, and I don't disagree with that position. But I think it would help in terms of determining what we do, and then I would just as soon hold off until the next meeting to render a decision on significant or non-significant based upon the changes of material that can come in as part of the application, because we may not need to do it at that point in time if there's sufficient information. You have a question, or are you just thinking?
Me? Oh, Rob,
No,
Robin.
Attorney Pearson.
Scratching my eyebrow. The only issue we have is if you find it significant, then we have to have a public hearing. And that's just going to push it out
Yep.
more time. I don't know that adding the materials that you've already looked at is going to provide you with any more information that would, allow you to have a more informed decision. All I was proposing to do was to make a list and say, this set of plans, this report prepared by Land Tech, and whatever else, is relevant should get into the file. But if you think there's a real chance that we're going to have a hearing, then frankly, it would be faster for us to set a hearing now and have it at the next meeting, rather than going out again, because you'd have to notice it if you ultimately decide you're going to have a hearing. So it's just a question of timing, that's all. I can't think of any other issue that is different when we have the public hearing out than the public can speak, but it's just a question of timing.
And that I fully understand.
And prudent and feasible alternatives analysis, but your regs, I think, require that to be looked at in any event, even if you haven't found it to be significant.
Chair, Commissioner Eisner has his hand raised.
Yes, I just saw that. Attorney Eisner. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just want to add a point of clarification. Most commissioners had weighed in that they thought it was a non-significant activity. That was the way I was leaning. My comment to, wait on that decision was just to allow town staff additional time. Sometimes, we don't spend as much time with the file. My initial reaction is it probably is a non-significant regulated activity, but I was just hoping to give town staff a little more time. If there was something that they pick up during their reviews, we could have that to consider before we make that decision. That was my only, that was the reason I made the statement earlier.
And unfortunately, due to the timing of when we got this, I have not done a full review on it. I did do a side-by-side review, which I assume most of you have done as well. And like I said, not much is changing at all along this area. The only thing is they have tweaked this a little bit just to get rid of that the driveway crossing. So I don't see any major changes between this application and the previous application, if that helps, Commissioner.
And one of the other things that may help is just to go on the record. I'm not inclined at this point to do a public hearing on this. So that's kind of the direction I'm leaning as well. Just so it's not a surprise. So, but I think what I'd like to do is wait until the next meeting I think you have a pretty good understanding of where commission members are on this. But also it's just an opportunity to give staff a little more time to dive into the application so that everybody's pretty much on the same page.
Chair, Commissioner Berlanti has his hand raised as well.
I'm sorry?
Commissioner Berlanti has his hand raised as well.
Okay, well, I didn't see him on the, oh, there he is, way up at
There
the
he
top, okay. Rich?
The only concern I might have is the applicant mentioned that they had a couple of ideas of where a septic system could potentially fit on the east side. And that might be helpful, at least to show where the potential locations might be in the application, just so we have, something to look at and get some sense of how successful that might be.
And is that with the understanding that if actual field conditions don't allow for it, then we have the force main system that's currently proposed?
Yes,
That's
yes.
sort of the
It
last
just kind of
stand, if you will.
maps out our options or the applicant's options, rather than, not really knowing what they have in mind.
Okay.
But like you said, fully understanding that, yeah, there is a potential that it may need to go to the west.
Okay. Attorney Pearson, anything else?
No, I don't think so, Mr. Chairman. We feel comfortable. I'm assuming, I'm speaking for David also, knowing that for the most part, the feeling is it's not significant. So going to the next meeting, when would the next meeting be, if I may ask?
I believe the 15th.
15th, yep.
Okay, so we'll work with staff. We'll get together a list for you of the items. And we can do that quickly, that we think should be considered part of the record. And we'll go to the next meeting, and I would be surprised if there's any additional information that would be so significant that it would change, the informal feedback we're getting from you right now.
Okay. So then I guess we will see you on the 15th.
Thank you.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
for your time and effort on this.
Yes, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Oh, what's that?
Can't they send?
Oh, I think did I just do something?
No, they're signing off.
Planners report?
Yeah, hold on.
The chiming's about.
No,
Wow.
I lost my thing for, give me a second.
Oh.
Where are we here? Why did I lose the screen?
Okay.
You see the agenda? Is it
I
there?
see the agenda.
Yeah.
Good. No, I thought I got lost for a second. All right. Next thing is planners report is Apple Tree Lane. I uploaded a copy of a citation I sent to the owner. It was for 12,000 and change. Second here. Also, as part of that, we required that they submit a plan to staff by February 22nd. The intent is to get that application or to get that plan in front of you by the March 1st meeting. So that would give us the whole month. That would give us 2 meetings to go back and forth, and therefore they can start installation of the work by April 1st and have it done by May 31st. That was the plan that we had sent over to them. Since that time, there has been a significant amount of hay or straw that has been cast over the property. I didn't grab any pictures, but they are making progress on that.
How much was the fine?
It was for 12. Did I put it in the agenda review?
I didn't see it in the review. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, no, it's right here. I'll show you. It would get I thought I carried it over. It's in your package. I want to say it was $12,300 or something like that, but it was just over 12,000. And that was based on a fine from 10 days after the cease and desist to when they actually started putting some of the hay down.
So do you think that that letter spurred the hay being dispersed on the site?
Pretty much. Yep. And then I got an immediate phone call, so it worked.
Okay.
I bet you did.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
On that matter, Bruce, they're allowed to continue construction work with the house, correct? They're not under a full cease and desist.
At this point, I gave them a cease and desist until that hay was down. That was my important thing. I'm going to go out and do an inspection and check on the status. And once it's done, I will then lift the temporary or the cease and desist on the property just for work on the building itself.
Okay, because they've enclosed the house with plastic, I'm assuming, so that they can keep heat in, and the workers are going crazy there during the day.
Are they?
They're
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah, last time I was there, I saw them putting on the hay. I didn't see anybody inside. So
yeah, I know people that walk by the house just on nice afternoons, and there's a lot of
Okay.
noise coming from the inside of the house.
yeah, because they've also submitted additional permit applications, and I have those on hold at this point. So
Yeah, I mean, if you do a drive-by, you'll see they've put, heavy mill plastic all around the outside of the house. I'm assuming they probably pulled the windows and doors out, and they're using that to, keep the work
Yeah,
area warm.
one of the times I think I drove by it and they did have they were closing it up with some of the Tyvek, and which I didn't have that much of a problem because they're trying to keep it water, they're trying to keep it from the weather. That's different. But any kind of addition, continuing with the work, such as additions and stuff like that, are on hold. So, but I
it's a full plastic shroud, like if you were doing an asbestos abatement.
all right, I'll take a peek. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Next minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the January 18th, 2023 Wetlands meeting?
So moved by Eisner.
Is there a second?
Second by Mark.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes of Wetlands Commission meeting of January 18th, 2023. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstaining. Okay. So I've got 8:18, so we'll close the Wetlands Commission meeting, go on to Conservation Commission. We can start at 8:18. Other business, we have household hazardous waste
Yes.
and Yukon Clear Virtual Land Use Commission training.
Yep, the household hazardous waste date has been set for March 25th. There was some moving of some dates with we had a couple of problems, so we had to move the date on that. Yukon Clear training. I did send that out to all, or we did send it out to all the commissioners. I was in a haste. I did send that out to all of you guys as well. Unfortunately, a commissioner reminded me that that it is not a requirement of the Inland Wetlands Commission. It is just for a TPZ and a ZBA. However, that does not prevent people from attending those as well, because again, keeping everyone up to date and informed is a great thing.
And I'm the guilty commission member.
I didn't say anyone's name.
Yeah, well, Mr. Eisner.
Yep. Bruce, I copied you on an email on Friday. I'm not sure if anyone else has had problem logging into the deep wetland training. because I tried to log in, I got through the screens. And then after the, icon to log in, it wouldn't move past that screen. Has anyone else had problems? If you tried?
I haven't tried. No, I think they did have some problems. I heard after that there was, I don't know if it was through one of these other links, they were saying that there was a problem. So maybe they were down for a bit. Maybe just give it another shot. If not, let me know and I'll try to call up DEP and see if something's going on.
Yeah, and I know emailing, 4:30 on a Friday afternoon is not the best time to try and get an answer. And I haven't tried to go back in since.
Well, yeah, I was here. I saw that. I was here later, as you can tell by my agenda reviews, and they go out. But I will definitely give them a call. Have you tried it since then?
I haven't, and I just copied you versus a point of information. The email went to the person identified on the webpage at Deep
Okay.
to Contact.
All right, and they haven't got back to you.
No, but I also got busy with other things and forgot about it. So I'll go back in and try and.
All right. Yeah, just
This is Rich. I did have a trouble with it and ended up trying to use a different browser. I forget which browser I used, but I tried another one and it worked. I can't remember which one was which, so sorry, I can't help you there.
Good to know. Thanks, Rich.
Is that it, Bruce?
That's all I have.
Okay, nothing under planners report. So can I get a motion to approve the minutes of January 18th, 2023 for the Conservation Commission meeting?
So move, Ned.
Is there a second?
Second, Rich.
I defer to Rich.
Have a motion to approve the minutes of January 18, 2023 Conservation Commission meeting. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstaining. So be it. So we will close this